65 yards. This time he fumbles the ball.
You must be out of your goddamn mind. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday night. Welcome to another Ryno's Rants. A little bit of new stuff going on here tonight. We've made the switch over to a different podcast streaming platform, so still trying to figure out some of the ins and outs of it. So bear with me on this as we run this. But we are in the off season. Some pretty good games in the divisional round yesterday and Saturday. Some that maybe weren't so great, but hey, the Detroit Lions got shut up and sent home. The Washington Commanders came out, played a great game, and ended up beating the 15-2 number one seed Detroit Lions and sending them off to Cancun. The Rams going to Philadelphia came up short. The Kansas City Chiefs beating the Houston Texans, and probably the best game of the four was the Buffalo Bills outlasting the Baltimore Ravens and setting up yet another AFC championship game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. So, it's more of the same, I guess, but hopefully we get somebody different in the Super Bowl this year. I'm going for Buffalo. I don't know about everybody else, but hats off to Washington. Dan Quinn, great job. Yeah, absolutely, Drew. What Dan Quinn's done in Washington, honestly, he deserves to be in that running for Coach of the Year. If he's not, I don't know about it, but let's go Vikings. Let's go Minnesota News fans. Hey, a new viewer tonight. Welcome to the show, Riley. Good evening, FTL. Yep, and there are a ton of Detroit Lions fans that have been eating crow in on the social media the last day or two, and it's been glorious watching them just fall apart. And then to add insult to injury for them, of course, if you guys have not heard, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson getting the job in Chicago as the Bears' next head coach. Going to be kind of interesting to see what he can do with Caleb Williams. Can he coexist with Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren? That's going to be, I think, the bigger question for me. But, the Bears seem to win the offseason every year and then, massive disappointment during regular season. So we'll see what happens there. Washington Buffalo, Skulls and Bones. Hey, good evening. Another new viewer. Love to see that. But yeah, it's, things are keeping moving. Of course, for you college football fans, national championship game starts here in a little while. That's why the show is, I moved the show ahead a little bit tonight. So, because I know a lot of you guys will be watching, I'll be watching too. So, it's kind of the big thing for the night, but was really hoping Johnson, I thought he was going to the Raiders. The way it sounded last week, there'd been talks with, of course, Tom Brady, now a minority owner with the Raiders. It sounded like they were going to give Ben Johnson, total control of the team and that kind of stuff. And I don't know what turned to make him go to Chicago, or if it was, the fact that right now the Raiders don't have a quarterback and it's a very slow quarterback class this year. Norris Vias, good evening. Yeah, I know they're starting here too, and kind of going up against some other guys tonight, but Johnston took that job for Caleb Williams. That's the only thing I can see, Drew, is why he would have done that. Um, it's an opportunity to work with a very dynamic quarterback. I don't know. I'm still not sold on Caleb Williams. Um, Not sold on Caleb Johnson either. I don't know who he is, but no relation to me. But we'll see what happens. A lot's going to have to see who they get in there for a defensive coordinator and some of this other stuff. And their offensive line is hot garbage. They're going to have to do all that. But this is Vikings talk, not Bears talk. I mean, we're doing NFC North. We're doing everything on the Rants, of course. Is just kind of a free for all show. But main topic I wanted to talk about though tonight is in the last month plus of the season that we talked about, it coming down to what were the Vikings going to do at quarterback in 2025? The way Sam Darnold was playing, everybody was, my God, you can't let Sam Darnold go. Then it was, you're going to get Sam Darnold for a Baker Mayfield, $33 million contract. Then all of a sudden it was Sam Darnold has played himself into a $40+ million contract. And then, after beating the Packers in week 17, it was Darnold is pushing up to 50 million. I don't think he was ever going to get 50 million, but he's going to get paid this offseason. It is a very weak quarterback free agent class. It is a very weak draft class for quarterbacks. And Sam Darnold is going to be, one way, shape, or form, the most sought after quarterback in free agency. And now, when all this was talking about earlier, I said on the show multiple times I was going to withhold my opinion on what they should do at quarterback, what I think they're going to do at quarterback until after the season's over. Well, now the season is over. So, the thing I'm looking at on this whole thing for the Vikings next year, this is J.J. McCarthy's team. It's as simple as I can put it. They're going to give J.J. McCarthy the keys to the car. And if you listen to the postseason press conferences from both Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, you can read the tea leaves and kind of figure it out what they're planning on doing. McCarthy was drafted as the quarterback of the future. McCarthy would have probably started to begin the season. I think so, because he was out playing Sam Darnold in preseason. If McCarthy hadn't torn his meniscus and ended up having to go out for the year, I believe he probably would have beaten out Sam Darnold in preseason and started week 1. So there is nothing that leads me to believe that the team is going to change plans. You get a lot of the fan base is up on emotion. It's oh my Sam Darnold. We can't get rid of Sam Darnold. The people I'm hearing talking about can't get rid of Sam Darnold because what's Sam Darnold this year? They are just rehashing the exact same argument that these people used last year as to why we couldn't let Kirk Cousins go. And Ronald, good evening. Another new one to the show. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, Ronald. What I was talking about is they drafted J.J. McCarthy, and then all of a sudden you're hearing, Vikings are gonna trade McCarthy and re-sign Darnold, and all of this stuff. There is no place in this timeline where the Vikings are going to trade J.J. McCarthy. It's not happening. Even if for some reason they signed Sam Darnold, to a cheap deal of some sort, which I don't think. If Sam Darnold's smart, he doesn't sign that deal, because the way this quarterback class and everything and free agency class, like I talked about a minute ago, is playing out, this is Sam Darnold's one chance to cash in. And, you know, I'm all about loyalty and stuff like this, but if you can go out there and sign for 45 plus million with the Raiders, with maybe the Saints, with one of these quarterback needy teams that are going to have a new coach coming in, and, you know, sign for a couple years at 40 million a piece, you go do that. But we're not going to franchise tag Darnold. The franchise tag for Darnold would be at about 41-ish million next year. And I've heard people talking about, oh, we can sign and trade Darnold. Are you willing to bet on that? And if you sign Sam Darnold to 40 million, that 40 million is all guaranteed. That comes right off the top of your 75 million or whatever we have currently to sign an offensive line. Kevin O'Connell actually said straight out in his postseason press conference, the interior offensive line has to be looked at and has to be improved. You can't sign Trey Smith or some of these other big name interior offensive linemen, a center, if you're spending 40 million, 41 million guaranteed on Sam Darnold. Rather sign Daniel Jones for 1 year, 10 million. And I think that's probably going to be the plan, Drew. I think Daniel Jones, will take the Sam Darnold route, come in, be the backup quarterback, and compete with JJ McCarthy or, for the backup. Yeah, but Daniel Jones bringing in as a backup is a very good option. I think it's a better option than Nick Mullins, although, Nick Mullins knows the offense, all that stuff. If you want to bring Nick Mullins back as the third quarterback, fine. I'm not going to lose any sleep and cry in my beer if Nick Mullins is elsewhere next year. 4 of the 5 quarterbacks from the 2018 first round playoffs made the playoffs this year. Yeah, it's kind of funny how some of that stuff works. Norris says, promise you do not see JJ McCarthy looking like a deer in headlights next season. Bet on it. I agree with that 100% of it. You're not going to see, I don't know if you guys saw, I did a kind of a snapshot view of one of the plays in question from the Rams game where McCarthy, where Darnold held the ball for close to 6 seconds before he got sacked. And I snapped 4 different times. And just doing this makes me want to get the all-22 film for next year so I can do some more of this. But at 4 different points in time when I looked there was at least 3 wide receivers open for Darnold to throw. And he looked around and didn't even act like he was going to throw. Jordan Addison was wide open, streaking down the sidelines for a touchdown. Later in the route, Jalen Naylor broke off, was wide open for a touchdown on the other side. C.J. Ham and T.J. Hawkinson were literally standing with nobody around them, 6-7 yards off the line of scrimmage, wide open. Justin Jefferson was a little tighter covered across the middle, but there was a couple of spots where you could have fit him in. And Sam Darnold turned back into Sam Darnold, and that's the problem. We all thought and hoped that, Kevin O'Connell had gotten that out of Darnold. But we saw it the last 2 weeks when the lights came on and everything was on the line. Sam Darnold melted like a candle in a microwave. He couldn't handle the hype, which is surprising because, he was money on a lot of those late drives and stuff during the season. But, during the season, you lose, you still live to play another day. We get to week 18. It's all on the line. First round bye, NFC North Championship, number 1 seed, home field throughout the playoffs. There was a lot there. Darnold had never faced that kind of pressure before. Then the next week, win or go home. Another one he couldn't do it. JJ McCarthy is the foundation of a dynasty. Yes, Norsefius. And by the way, speaking of JJ McCarthy, a very happy 22nd birthday to the future Super Bowl MVP JJ McCarthy. Just turns 22 years old today. He's been on the team for a year now and is still only 22 years old. So the kid has got his whole career and his whole future ahead of him. Jer, I am not going to post that comment. Got those people out there that are still talking that goddamn Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings crap, and that is the dumbest thing out there. Nobody with any brains or any insight or thought towards this team wants Aaron Rodgers anywhere close to this locker room. Mr. Garvey, yeah, and it's good thing is Kwesi has 5 weeks to figure it out. Yeah, he does. You know, free agency doesn't start until the beginning of March. They got it, and they can, you know, if they want to extend anybody, they can do it at any point in time now. You know, we've got several free agents that we need to look at, see if we want to bring back too. You know, two of the big ones are Cam Bynum and Byron Murphy. Do we bring one back, both back? Hard to see on there. Think about trading KOC for Jake Wellen. Yeah. D Nice. Yeah. JJ McCarthy would play high and in the big pressure games. He's done it his whole career, his whole life. I mean, the kid has lost 3 times in his football career. 3 times. Won the national championship game. Played against Alabama to get to the national championship game. And, you know, the narratives out there that were here on JJ McCarthy last year, people are still pulling them up. Oh, he's just a handoff merchant. He can't throw the ball. He can't. When you have a run offense like what Michigan had last year, you don't need to throw the ball 40 times a game because you can run over them 30 times and you still beat teams into submission. So when JJ McCarthy was one of the best 3rd and 4th down quarterbacks in college football last year. And if McCarthy, you know, I'm seeing some of this, you can trade McCarthy for straight up for, the 8th overall pick or something. If JJ McCarthy came out this year in 2025, he would be not only the first quarterback taken, he would be the first overall player taken. And you're not going to trade, or nobody is going to trade the number 1 overall pick for a single first round draft pick. If you wanted to go to Tennessee and say, hey, I want the first round pick, or first overall pick, you're going to have to give up 3 first round picks and something else. So these guys are trying to trade this, bring this crap up and make these stupid trades, and then they're just throwing shit out there for the sake of throwing shit out there just to have something to talk about and generate clicks. Same thing with like Mike Florios of the world that are trying to push the narrative that there's tension and schism between Kevin O'Connell and the Wilfs. Kevin O'Connell's going to get a contract extension probably in the next couple of weeks. They took this week to kind of decompress and they're going to go over stuff. They're going to talk about stuff. Kevin O'Connell will have a new contract prior to free agency, in my opinion. I don't know that for fact, of course, but that's my prediction is he's going to have one in the next month and be ready to go when free agency starts, when all the draft prep is going on, leading up to the draft and all that kind of stuff. And that's going to be one thing that's off the plate as far as a distraction. Kwesi, same boat. He'll get one here as well. GMAC, good evening. Goff had a bad game. Happens when your protection sucks. The thing of it is, Detroit, their offensive line has been, roughly, the entire year been one of the best offensive lines in the league. and the Commanders were able to get to him. They were able to cause pressure, and then Jared Goff went out and threw, 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions, whatever it was. No, exactly, Ronald. And people who are bringing this stuff up, like I said, they either don't know shit, or they're just out there trying to generate talking points, clicks, website clicks, social media follows, all that other garbage. JJ McCarthy, yeah, ain't hanging out in the pocket waiting to get sacked. Yep, I was watching some of this the other day. Well, you don't really have to go look up any JJ McCarthy footage, because if you follow Thor Nystrom on Twitter X, he's been posting JJ McCarthy highlights for the last week plus now. So you kind of get the whole thing over there. Of course, Thor being president, CEO, and secretary treasurer of the JJ McCarthy fan club. Uh, you know, Thor knows his shit about college players and things like that, and he's sold on the guy. I was sold on him at the beginning of at the draft last year. Um, him, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels I'd have been happy with any of those 3 guys, and we got one of them. So, Jaden Daniels should be the rookie of the year. He had an incredible season. Drake May, for the lack of weapons and everything else, I mean, he showed promise up in New England as well. And now with the new head coach and system up there, we'll see how that goes. But JJ is the son the KOC wanted. Yeah. 17 drinks today. I knew who you meant, Drew. JJ, LL. Now, close enough. Steven, good evening. How about the Lions? Yeah, we talked about that to start the show. The kiddies are back in the litter box. Couldn't have happened to a better bunch of fans. And I'm not going to generalize and say all Detroit Lions fans are assholes, because there are, the guys that have been there throughout the years, when this team has been hot garbage for the past 4 decades, basically, that they're for the most part okay. It's the ones that came onto the scene, jumped on the bandwagon in 2023 that are out there, been spouting off and talking shit for the last, basically all season, completely insufferable assholes. Those are the ones that I just love seeing this whole meltdown happen here the last couple of days, because it's been glorious. It's been entertaining, and I seriously recommend going and checking some of their Lions Twitter out if you need a good laugh. So, Nympha, good morning. The Filipino fan club is in the house once again. GMAC Brew Dunting, yep. Drew only work. Norsefish is only on the first one. I had my first one earlier. I will have another one when I'm done here while I'm watching the game tonight. We'll see how the national championship goes. Kind of interested to see how that works out. I don't know who to cheer for. I'm not an Ohio State fan by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if Notre Dame has the horses to beat Ohio State. I guess we'll find out. See what happens. Had to redo the Viking wood art. All right. Guys watching the college football contest this evening. Yes, GMAC, that's kind of the plan. And that's why I went on, an hour earlier than we normally do, just so I could get the show out of the way, because I know a lot of you guys in the chat are going to want to watch that game. So Daniel Jones is a backup. I am more than fine with. I think Daniel Jones can take the same trajectory kind of thing that Darnold took this year. He sat for that last 6-7 games or whatever it ended up being, as a backup, as the kind of like what Darnold did last year in San Francisco, just kind of starting to get a few things under his belt, learning a few things. I fully expect Daniel Jones to come back. Now, somebody could come out, blow him out of the water. One of these teams we talked about earlier, a New Orleans, a Las Vegas, somebody that says we need a quarterback right now because we don't have anybody, or we drafted a rookie who we don't think is going to be ready quite yet. So it's possible he could end up going someplace else. But I think there's a very good chance that Daniel Jones comes back, and Daniel Jones is your backup quarterback for the 2025 season. JJ would do ayahuasca with Rodgers. You'd lose him in a darkness retreat. Yeah, like I said, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be wearing a Minnesota Vikings football jersey. He will not. I'm going to come right out and say it right now. And if something happens and they do sign him, I'll eat my words on it. But I don't want Aaron Rodgers anywhere near this team. This is not the same scenario it was when Brett Favre came back. Brett Favre was playing because Brett Favre loved to play football, and Brett Favre, he wanted a shot back at the Packers. Fair point. But Rodgers and Favre are two completely different players, two completely different personalities. Rodgers is that sullen, frickin' pompous dickhole. I'm not going to sit there and don't want to sit there and watch Aaron Rodgers do that stupid eye roll when Johnny Munt runs the wrong frickin' route, or they're not on the same page and Rodgers throws an interception behind him or some kind of thing. Aaron Rodgers is 42 years old now, and he looked absolutely spent this year. I thought he was washed the last year with Green Bay. So now he just needs to retire and go away. Yeah. Go back and watch the semifinals versus TCU. Roman actually scored. Michigan should have had that game. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. And, J.J. McCarthy, after that loss at TCU 2 years ago, in that post-game press conferences, we are going to come back and we are going to win the national championship. And that's exactly what they did. I love that kid's passion. I love that kid is going to have kind of that Brett Favre-ish attitude towards playing the game. I think you saw him a couple of times in college. I forget which game it was. I think it might have been that Nebraska game. Drew, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. But when I think it was Blake Corum broke loose on that run down the sidelines, the guy right along beside him getting down there to throw a block to make sure that he got down there was J.J. McCarthy. He's the guy that goes down and is celebrating with his teammates when they score a touchdown. It's not like Kirk Cousins, who would just walk over and go sit down on the bench and pull up the Surface tablet and start paging through stuff and sit by himself or whatever. Be nice to give the lad a running game next season. I'm not going to argue that one bit. And they might decide to bring Aaron Jones back, which I'd be okay with. But Aaron Jones can't be your number one guy. You got to have somebody there that can be that home run threat, a guy that's going to be able to hit the hole and take it to the house. Jones is a good back, but he's more good for that. Going to get you 6 yards, going to get you 7-8 yards, get you a first down. Great catching the ball out of the backfield, but he doesn't have that home run ability. He doesn't have that fifth gear that the Dalvin Cooks of the world, or back to Adrian Peterson's a bad example because there's very few running backs like Adrian Peterson. But you need somebody who's got that breakaway speed that if you can hit the hole, that making that running game better is a definite improvement in what this offense needs. Need interior offensive and defensive lines. Yeah, and that's where it all starts. If you don't fix that interior offensive line, J.J. McCarthy is going to have a hell of a time next year. You got to get probably two guards, and I would say you look for a center as well. I know Trey Smith is the hot name at guard. I mean, he's a right guard. You'd fill it in there. I'm not comfortable with Brandel being the starter at left guard either. Now, if Darrisaw is back, Brandel would probably pick up because he played well against when Darrisaw was on his outside. But when Cam Robinson came in, then Brandel just fell off completely. Jared, good evening. Go after the number one free agency and Ryan Kelly next year. Ryan Kelly's a good center. He's a little on the older side now, so don't know that he necessarily fits that mold that that Kwesi and KOC kind of look for. The center out of Atlanta might be an option. His name's escaping me at the moment, but I mean, I like Ryan Kelly. He's a good player, and maybe bringing in that veteran center is a good idea when you're working with basically a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy. So I mean, I'm not discounting that option, but common theme with the teams that did well in the divisional round, dominant run game. Yeah, that there is that. Any chance Flores stays as defensive coordinator in 2025? Great question, Drew. And I was going to get to that, and I completely forgot about it. Thank you for bringing it back up. I think there's becoming a better and better chance that he does end up staying. I think Aaron Glenn probably is going to end up with the either the Jets or the Saints. Flores, I don't think Flores is interviewed with the Saints at all. He's interviewed with the Jets, but to Flores, he made this comment, earlier this week or last week, I guess it was, about that he's going to entertain all interviews just to see what these teams have to say, but it has to be the right fit and the right situation for him to leave Minnesota. So he wants to be a head coach again, obviously, but if it's not the spot that he wants, he's content to stay here. And myself personally, I don't know that he would look at the Jets and say, yes, this is the perfect option for me. I mean, the ownership is a mess. You don't have a GM right now, so you don't know who you're dealing with there. You've got the owner who's letting his son help make personnel decisions based on a player's Madden rankings. So I don't think that Flores would want to go there. I could be way off base. I thought Chicago was probably a very good spot for Flores to maybe go. I'm glad he's not going there because I don't want to face his defense twice a year. Jacksonville is an option. He has interviewed down there. I don't know. I would guess that they would try to find, some new agey type offensive guy to work with Spicoli Lawrence down there, but I don't know. The Raiders, I have no idea who the Raiders are going to hire for a head coach. I honestly thought Ben Johnson was going to go there, but I think right now it's probably 60-40 that Flores stays next year, which I'm perfectly fine with. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Jer, you're going to get muted in the chat if you keep bringing up AA Ron. Had JJ, yeah, of the top quarterbacks, I figured, I never figured that Penix was going to go top 10. I had, the top quarterbacks going: Drake May, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, and Caleb Williams. I had Caleb Williams as the last out of that group because of the boom and bust potential and a lot of the stuff we saw this year. That was a problem with Caleb Williams in college, still was a problem with Caleb Williams in the pros. Trying to play hero ball all the time, trying to make those Sports Center throws when he had something simple that he could throw and get, 5, 6, 7 yards, keep the play moving. Instead, he'd run around for 5 minutes in the backfield and take a sack because once you start running, he'd quit looking downfield. The adversity thing, he doesn't really handle that well and still hasn't. So, yeah, I think, can he still be a good quarterback? Absolutely he can. Maybe Ben Johnson can get something out of him. But I still, in the end, believe Jaden Daniels already is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. I think Drake May, they get him a good offensive coordinator to work with this year and get him some weapons to work around. I think Drake May is going to be a good quarterback in this league. And I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be a very good quarterback in this league. So, time will tell on that. Lions fan coworker was sure salty today. Can't wait to keep talking shit to him. Yeah, it's funny. I enjoy that. It's been quite humorous. What do I think about Bryce Lance? Simply due to the position, he'll be better pro than Trey. I think that's a very likely scenario. One thing that Bryce, I think, learned from Trey is that don't try to declare for the NFL too soon. Trey Lance came out too early. The best thing Trey Lance could have done was stayed at least one more year at NDSU and gotten more experience and gotten better stuff at it. Bryce Lance is a very good wide receiver. He's one of the better wide receivers I've seen at NDSU in a long time. I think he's better than Christian Watson. And he's coming back next year, so he's going to get another year under his belt. Will he come out in 2026? I don't know, but I like the kid, and he's going to be a good pro somewhere. Woodward Sports, yeah, those guys are, I'm giving them the Ass Clown of the Week award because they sat out there and talked so much shit prior to the game against Washington. They were predicting that advocating for Jaden Daniels to end up in the blue tent multiple times. So you start rooting for injuries on somebody else on the other team. You're an asshole and you deserve whatever karma bitch slaps you in the face with. And they got it, and they're still getting it from the rest of the Twitterverse. So yes, it's been quite entertaining. Play like a champion. Let's go Notre Dame. Yeah, I think I'm going on the Notre Dame bus as well. Like I said, I'm not an Ohio State fan. Sorry, Ted, but give Kwesi credit for recognizing Daniels as the future. Tried to trade up for him. Didn't happen. But yeah, they tried. They liked Jaden Daniels. They liked Drake May. I think that, they would have been happy trying to get either one of them. I see people, of course, saying, "Oh, they wanted Drake May or they wanted Jaden Daniels," so they just had to settle for J.J. McCarthy. They didn't really like him. They didn't really want him. That's bullshit. Kevin O'Connell, he's gotten the nickname within Egan. They called him the quarterback killer because there were multiple times in the first 2 years where they were looking at a quarterback to draft, and Kevin O'Connell vetoed it. They wanted to go to draft Will Levis when they had 3 opportunities to do so in 2023. Kevin O'Connell said, no, I don't want him. And turned out to be a very wise move. So don't tell Ted, but I'm going for Notre Dame. Yeah, I'm sure Ted is getting all hyped up and ready to go. So, but we'll see what happens here. Would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is another valid option as backup. He's familiar with the system, all that kind of stuff. Is he a better quarterback than Daniel Jones? I don't know that I can go either way on that. Daniel Jones is another one of these guys that was in a poor situation, and under the right situation could turn into something decent. I'm not saying that he's going to come in here and be the starter next year. Absolutely not. I think this is J.J. McCarthy's team. But I also think that Daniel Jones, if McCarthy gets hurt and has to sit down for a game or two, gets a concussion, has to sit out for a week or whatever, I think Daniel Jones could come in and do a good enough job and win us a game or two if necessary. Not to say that Garoppolo couldn't, but I'm not a huge Jimmy Garoppolo fan, never really was. I'm not a huge Daniel Jones guy either, just for fairness and comparison there. But I think if I had my choice between the two, I think I would probably go Daniel Jones. But anybody watching Jaden Daniels being jealous we didn't get him maybe down on the McCarthy pick. Yeah, McCarthy turned 22 today, not 21. But yeah, Daniels is a couple of years older, but great. Still had a great season, and if Rodgers is signed, I have to grow a beard. He'd probably, by the time it took me to grow a good beard, they'd sign him, they'd cut him, he'd retire, and whatever all else. But if Aaron Rodgers gets signed by the Vikings, I'm going to have to do the Ace Ventura, Einhorn is a man scene afterwards, I think, because I do believe I would get physically ill. But Favre stole from poor people. He hadn't done any of that during his playing days. What happened afterwards, I'm not going to get into that part of it. David Rinaldi, good evening. Here to help aid. Glad you decided to stick around, Norsefius, because it's always more entertaining when we have you in the chat. The Big Ten Championship versus Iowa. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember exactly when it was. I'm a little behind on the comments here tonight, but the kid wins. Period. Yep. Go buy road graders on the offensive line, draft defense. Yeah, I agree with that, Norsefius. I'm not at the point where I want to, go and draft an entire interior offensive line. We've talked about this before. A lot of times, and I know Drew's mentioned it on Vikings Report before too, it takes a lot of times a couple years or so for a guard to get good and learn, how to play in the NFL. And it's getting more and more so now because a lot of the teams in college are going, to that air raid gimmicky type offense, and they don't know how to play that, go up there and punch people in the face kind of gutsy offensive line play that we kind of need here. Susan, good evening. When Worthy broke the 40 at the combine, guess who was among the first dudes going down to celebrate with him? Yeah. I get Friedgen help in the middle. Unfortunately, we can be outbid by about 10 teams. We got the fifth or sixth highest cap space, so we can be right in there if it's a guy we definitely want. Drew Dahlman from Atlanta. That's the name I was thinking about earlier. GMAC, thanks for bringing him up. Yeah. Brandel is trash. Yeah, I'm okay with Brandel as a backup swing guy because he's got that position flexibility, guard, tackle if we need him kind of a thing. But I don't want him being a starter next year. Dahlman, yeah. Tyler Booker, Tate Ratledge, Donovan Jackson. Yeah, I like Tate Ratledge. I like Booker too, but I don't know where they're going to fall. We don't have a second round pick this year, and I don't know about taking a guard in the first round. He's got to be a guy that is going to be good right off the get go. At least Quasey won't be hamstrung playing Moneyball next year. Absolutely. Flores leaves. Who do you want as a replacement? Has to be a 3-4 guy at this point. Yeah, I think you're right, Riley, on that one. I mean, there's been some names thrown around. Staley is one, he's really good friends with Kevin O'Connell. I don't know that I want him. Durante Jones, the secondary coach we have on here right now, I mean, he's been under Flores' system for a couple of years now. They were giving him play calling opportunities in the preseason. I think he would be a name to watch. Lou Amaruno, he got signed today. I think he went to the Colts, if I remember right. So he's off the board. I'm not sure who else is out there. Brian Leonard, the former Wisconsin guy, he's somebody I would like. He's fiery. He's young. Can he come into this system? I don't know, but it would be somebody that I would put on my list for sure. Vikings retain Flores, doubles the chances. I agree with that, Drew. The continuity part of that, I think, Flores has got a lot of the guys in there he wants now. You get some help in the back end, depending upon what they're going to do. Harrison Smith may be retiring. Are they bringing Murphy back? Are they bringing Bynum back? Metellus is back. Shaq Griffin is a guy I'd look at bringing back for another year. He had a very solid season. Gilmore has talked about retiring as well. He came out in the same draft class as Harrison Smith, so we're going to have to look at that as well. But we're going to do, some breakdowns on free agents and all that stuff coming up here. Probably do a little bit on this weekend show, the main show with Brunswick. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Sala did a 4-3 in San Francisco, and the Jets could be wrong. Yeah, he did. So I don't know that he would come in and fit real well. Patriots have a ton of cap space. Yeah, and they need it because they don't have shit. They need wide receivers. They need defensive players. They need linemen. They need pretty much everything. Vrabel. I like Mike Vrabel. I thought he got kind of a raw deal in Tennessee. So I think he will do well in New England. Time will tell. Mark Gronowski he played for South Dakota State, not North Dakota State. And get it right, please. Woodward was a bunch of bitches before the game, not after either. He's headed to Iowa. Yep, that's fine. He's out of FCS. Don't have to deal with him anymore. What else we got here? If we ever face Donatel, put in Danny Dimes. There, yeah, there you go. I don't know. I don't think Donatel's even coaching anywhere right now, is he? If he is, he might be some position coach or some kind of a consultant, but he's not a defensive coordinator anywhere. What else we got here? Try to add a little flair. We got to have that Norris Fist. That's what makes this show enjoyable. Makes me enjoy doing it. Buying at least one of the running backs. This is an extremely deep running back class. You've got, of course, everybody looks at Jonty out of Boise State. He's going to go early. He's not going to be an option for us. You've got guys like Scatabo and a bunch of other, there's a ton of running backs. I haven't done a lot of dive into them yet, but they will take a running back at some point in time. He's not doesn't fit that hit the home run ball kind of thing like I talked about earlier that I want. He's kind of more that bruising power back that the back to the old, if you need 1 yard, I'll get you 3. If you need 5, I'll get you 3 kind of thing. Good cornerback draft. Yeah, and that's a good thing because we need cornerbacks as well. Game starting, got to run. Thank you, Drew, for joining as always. The college football championship starting. We'll run through a few more here, then probably call it here too before too long. So if you guys got any more questions, comments to throw in, make sure you get them in the chat. Scatabo in the ham position, pair him up with a guy like Judkins. Yeah, I don't think they're going to take 2 of them though. And if you get rid of CJ Ham, CJ Ham is high priced and he's getting up there in age. I don't know if he'll be back next year, but do we need a fullback? We never hardly use it, so I don't know. Scatabo gives Kleiny vibes, better ball skills. Yeah, he usually doesn't trip over the yard lines. Ravens and Vikings are out. If it's Kansas City and Super Bowl, I'm going to go see a movie on Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, I'm pulling for Buffalo in this one. I've been a Bill. Bills have kind of been my AFC team for quite a while, so apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. 4 losses on the NFC side, 4 losses on the AFC side. I'm going for Buffalo. I don't want to see Kansas City back again. I'm getting so sick and watching that game this past weekend, and some of that, just the obvious favoritism by the officiating crew, and then Mahomes, doing his theatrics up there. That one time when he basically did the throw himself off a cliff when he got touched going out of bounds on that one. He slowed down so the defender would run into him and then pretended like he got clocked. Yeah, I'm done with Mahomes. Need a monster DT and a cornerback. Yeah, we need a defensive tackle that can rush the passer from the inside so we don't have to keep bringing that A-gap blitz all the time. Ryan Day gets fired tomorrow. Now let's go Buffalo. Home run hitter at the B. Haha, yeah. What else we got here? A first and 2/5. We're gonna get a third round pick, a comp pick, at least one for Cousins. I'm still hearing conflicting reports on whether or not we get one for Danielle Hunter as well. There was some talk that the Shaq Griffin thing canceled that one out, but we're going to get at least one. And if Flores ends up going someplace, we'll get another one. But and I fully expect, unless there's somebody there that the Vikings really love at pick 24, I fully expect them to try to trade back and pick up another, a second, late first, a second, and some other stuff, maybe just to kind of get that back up again. Kansas City's not fun football to watch. No, exactly. And they haven't looked good all year long. And they get bailed out, and it's pathetic. The NFL wants their villain, I guess, and now that Brady's gone, it's Mahomes. I don't know. My team can't win it all. I don't want anybody else to be happy. Go KC. I understand that line of thinking, Josh, but I'm just so fucking sick and tired of Kansas City. I don't want to see them win the Super Bowl. The worst option for me is going to be seeing an Eagles Kansas City Super Bowl again because I hate both those teams. I'd like to see the Commanders go. Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn has done a great job this year. I think he deserves to get there. Kenneth Grant at 24. Haven't done much of any draft work yet. I got to get on that, but no on KC, Patrick the Hat. Yeah, that's exactly right. Norrisfius, I don't want to hear. And seeing Taylor Swift up in the press box every time frickin' what's his face farts on the sidelines, Kelsey, just to get his or her reaction. Super Bowl logo, green and red. Yeah, I know. Technically, if they're going to match, though, it's more Seattle Seahawks colors than it is Eagles colors, but I don't know. We'll find out. But conference championship games coming up this weekend. So, we'll know who's going to go, and we'll know who's going to be in the Super Bowl here within a week. So, but with that, we've gone on almost an hour, and I know the Commanders versus Chiefs tribal warfare. And if it's Commanders and Chiefs, I'm going for the Commanders in that one. They were in that same. They were 4-13 last year, and they weren't predicted to be anywhere up to where it was. So, I'm good with that too if they get in there and win. But anyway, guys, gonna call it. I think here, national championship game is going on, so let everybody go to watch that if you're so inclined. Thank you so much again for joining, as always. Great conversations in the chat. I couldn't even keep up tonight, which is awesome. Not quite sure if it's Friday or Saturday yet this week that the main VU show will be on. I got to check Lance's schedule and that kind of stuff, but stay tuned. We'll make sure we get the post out later in the week for it. But beyond that, shout out to the Filipino fan club as always. Thank you for tuning in halfway around the world. Shout out all you guys in the chat. Like I said, you bring it every week. And I know you got other options. Norrisfius, thank you for staying. Drew, everybody, Aunt, all of it. Yes, prayers to Lance's mom. Yes, if you didn't heard, Brunswick's mother is ended up in the hospital here yesterday having some issues. So if it's your thing, keep her in your thoughts, and hopefully everything goes well there, and she's back out of the hospital here soon. So, but with that, thank you so much again, everybody, for joining. Have a great night. Have a great week. We'll see you this weekend for the main show, and we got a lot of off-season stuff to talk about. So stick around because we're going to be here. We're going to be talking about it up to free agency, the draft, all that good stuff like we always do. So have a good night, guys. We'll catch you later.